Hey guys and girls, hope you are doing well. On this video I will be reviewing the second episode of the first season of Spides, the new German science fiction drama which you can see on Syfy, on the Sci-fi channel in the UK. It airs on Tuesdays at 9. Not that I'm advertising for the Sci-fi channel or anything. And this second episode is called Larva. So the basic plot is then, following on from last week's, Nora was obviously contacted by this mysterious man who sent her the video, which was of two people being killed at like a facility, and the sort of really big twist on that was then the person killing them looked almost identical to Nora. Really the only difference is she had a nose ring, but besides that, identical. So the guy place and I'll have the answers, and that's kind of how it was left in the episode. And then it sort of cut to a shot of the car with the guy inside, and you also had the exact same person, the one who I guess is Nora's lookalike or whatever's going on, was in the car next to him in a hood. So kind of suggesting that then maybe that they're setting Nora up for a fall or something like that. But that was the big cliffhanger last week. So in this episode, basically Nora sort of finds a bit more about what's going on and about her past a little bit, because she's obviously debating whether to go to this meeting. She goes to the drop-in place, which is like this cafe for like a kind of drug addicts, and that's where her friend Marie, I think her name is, works. And she obviously invited Nora there, and this is the place where Nora apparently used to work, but which she can't remember. So she sort of finds a bit more out about her past, and ultimately I think she sort of decides against meeting the guy on the street, but then she's then taken from the street. She's abducted by these other two guys who seem to have her own agenda, and this sort of leads to her using her powers, and the whole thing escalates, and it kind of builds to this scene at the end where she actually decides, she talks Peter into taking her back to the club to kind of try and figure out exactly what happened to her all that time ago. And on the other side of the plot, the brilliantly named David the Lionheart, which I found out reading the write-up, that's actually like the detective's name. He finds out then the woman, the girl who looks identical to Nora, nearly killed two twins, and that's sort of the murder scene which we saw from last week. And he finds out that she's the one who killed them because she was sort of seen fleeing the scene. And it kind of becomes clear in the episode from her actions. Then she's sort of trying to cover up something to do with this drug and the effects and stuff. But the murder has been pinned on someone else. It's been pinned on this character Marty, and what did I say? The Lionheart character, David, I think it was. It was either David or Mark, I can't remember now. He actually talks to Marty's girlfriend, and because basically the same police officers who took Nora previously like took her into custody and took her to the institute are trying to like muscle in and bring like the girlfriend into custody, but good old Lionheart like stands his ground and actually takes her in and asks her a few questions, and he sort of finds a bit more, and him and his partner, who I'll just call Skin, because she does look a lot like Skin out of Skunk and Nancy. They slowly unravel some more details to do with the plot. So that's generally what's happening with the episode. And I think I actually enjoyed this a bit more than the first episode, just because it's sort of getting more into the characters, the world of the thing. I think it is. I think there was a bit more atmosphere to this one at times. It was a little bit more tense, like maybe the scene where Nora was like nabbed on the street, and she kind of uses like these freaky sort of powers to like sort of break out. I think because this is a show where it's working very much on the surface level, I think it is those kind of like trippy, freaky type moments which actually make it quite good fun and stop it from being just like this kind of like bland sort of soapy type show, which it does feel a bit like at times, but I think it is the sci-fi elements that actually make it a little different, a little fun. It was sort of quite freaky, like the effects in that scene in the van where she's using her powers, because the power literally takes her over. Her eyes start go like black. It's a bit like the effect that they use for like Dark Willow in Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and she starts like manipulating them and shaking the van with her powers. It's this whole freak out sort of moment, but the other thing that happens is that she actually manipulates people around her on the street. So she actually like uses this woman on a bike to actually like help her to sort of like just get in the way of the van, so the van eventually sort of crashes, and she then appears to drain some power off like the woman as she's like laying there on the sidewalk, and I think she probably dies. But I think actually moments like that and the sci-fi elements are pretty good fun. I think they work as a kind of what the hell is going on sort of thing, quite trippy as I said. And I mean, following on, Nora kind of doesn't know where she is exactly, like after that scene, and I think it's that experience that makes her think, well, maybe we should go to this club again, and she sort of talks Peter into it, even though he tries to dissuade her and kind of says, is that really the best idea? And it's a weird one with Peter, because at this point we still don't know where he stands, because he has been seen to be kind of manipulating things like helping out the Institute and stuff. But at the same time, he does seem, at least to Nora, he does seem quite genuine and seems to be on her side and stuff. So yeah, it's sort of quite hard to read whether he's going to turn out to be like a villain or on Nora's side sort of thing. But I think at times his character feels a bit over the top and kind of roguish, because there's a scene where, and it's stuff like this where the episode gets quite sort of cartoonish, because Marie like goes to the hospital, and she, like earlier in the episode, she's kind of like told Nora to like stay away from Peter. He's no good. How can you trust him after that night when he got you high and this whole thing happened? So she goes to the hospital later and is like really in his face, really, stay away from Maria, or stay away from Nora sort of thing. And it's then when he just has like this cartoonish sort of like put down was like, oh, maybe someone hasn't had their rabies shot. And he's acting all like sort of like villain of the week almost, because he's kind of teasing her about, about the fact that maybe Nora's more into spending time with him and than he is her. That there's something to do with, he has a line where he kind of says, maybe it's your maybe she's avoiding you, your kind of, I can't remember what he says, but your sunny disposition. So. But then as he's like phoning Nora, because he's like, well, let's see if she answers, and he's like, it's ringing, and it's kind of this pantomime sort of villain, but it's sort of hard to read him in a way, because he is acting quite villainous in those scenes, but yeah, there's that whole thing, and then to sort of add to that, like later on in the episode, when you get to like the big club scene at the end, which I'll talk more about, but Maria basically comes in, and when she sees what's happening, she just clocks him, and she knocks him right out, and he falls over like in this really like cartoonish sort of manner, almost like out of a cartoon. Really, it didn't really feel like, because it didn't feel like she hit him like so hard that he would fall over like that. It was meant to be a wallet, but you sort of thought, well, he might hold his jaw a bit, he might sort of stagger back a bit, but you don't buy he would like fall over like that. But it's sort of quite funny. And yeah, when Nora goes to like this calf drop in, one I do actually quite like that scene, because you get like these bullies like coming off the street, and they seem to be just some sort of like they're in a gang or something, but they're basically there just to stir up trouble. And I do like that scene because Nora actually like stands up, and because they make some like crude joke about like sort of like junkies, and Nora's kind of like piss off basically, this we don't want your like crude jokes here, or whatever she said. So she's actually really stands up in the scene, and stands up for like the place and stuff, and I do like that. That's kind of a cool little character beat for her, and sees them off. But it's them later who like grab her on the street, and at the same time, the Nora lookalike is following on in the car. So she's told to like keep a distance, but to follow, and then obviously things sort of escalate. So I guess I should talk about the club scene at the end, because that's where things like get really wild. Because she eventually persuades Peter to drive her to the club. They go there. So she's sort of hoping she'll get to the bottom of things, which again is kind of a nice character beat, because it's her being proactive and coming up with a plan. Even though I think us as a viewer, we're kind of like, is this a sensible plan? It sounds like a recipe for disaster, and of course, this being a sort of TV show, it is. That's kind of how things go, but. So they go to the club, and one weird sort of moment is that the brother, Nora's brother, is like watching her out the window and sees her go off with Peter. And he actually like calls someone on the phone and says they're leaving, they're going to the club. And you think, what's going on? Who's he talking to on the phone? It can't be the parents, because they're obviously in the same house. And I mean, obviously, the way the scene sort of plays out, it's all mysterious, so it's obviously meant to be, but it's revealed by the end. So they go to the club, and things kind of escalate, because Peter says, well, we can do anything you want except take the drug, take bliss. We're not doing that. And we see a little bit more of the club where they're like targeting certain people. They're like sort of slapping on wristbands, and they're kind of identifying the people they're going to give the drug to. And so there's this whole thing where Peter runs into like one of his old friends, and he doesn't seem too pleased to see him, but this whole thing escalates and they squirt something in Nora's eyes. So maybe suggesting then they're kind of in on it, or I don't know if they were just being dicks or whatever, but it blinds Nora, and it really phases her, and she staggers through the club. So Peter sort of loses her when he's like arguing with the other guys. And this is where things come to a head, because we get like this trippy sort of visual of Nora once again on the planet, and again monsters like coming after her, and at the same time it cuts to those two twins again, those twins again, the ones that are sort of hooked up to the thing, and they're reacting to what's happening to Nora as well, and the whole club sort of freaks out. It is kind of trippy shit like this that I'm kind of enjoying in this show. And it's at this point where the Nora lookalike / drone, whatever she is, shows up, and she's about to kill Nora, shoot her, and then security shows up, breaks it up, and Nora's basically dragged away, and she's dragged away by, I think it's Marie. I think after she's like walloped Peter one, and we then actually see her brother, and he's with them and gets her in a taxi and safe. So I guess the brother is kind of working with like the people from the drop-in, and they're sort of, I guess this is part of the whole kind of protection thing. So I think what I can maybe ascertain from what we've seen in this episode with like the Nora clone is that I think she's obviously, her and the guy we've seen with her, obviously they're not part of the Institute. They're obviously part of a movement that are trying to do away with it, trying to put an end to it, because obviously we've seen Nora now be affected in a negative way by these powers, which she's obviously gotten from the drug. So I think, although it's obviously wrong to go after Nora and try to kill her, they're obviously doing it from a good place in a way, or at least that's how they would see it, because they're sort of seeing it as eliminating the threat. So obviously, likewise, the twins, which she killed, they were obviously on the drug as well. So it's obviously they're seen as doing this as a force for good, even though killing people really isn't the right way to go about it. But she's obviously Nora's twin. But I mean, whether that means she would kill herself, I don't really know. But who knows? We're obviously going to find out a bit more. I think another thing I enjoyed in the episode is that I do enjoy the banter between Mr. Lionheart and Skunk Skin Out of Skunk and Nancy. It's David Lionheart, by the way, I've just seen. They do have some good banter. I think they have like this classic odd couple, like detective type thing down, where they compliment each other nicely, and there's some good fun banter back and forth. And we get into like this whole like governmental like conspiracy type thing in this. So another side to it is then they suspect then there's a Russian mob sort of plot behind it, because they sort of come to the conclusion that it would be bad for the Russians because it's all very like murky, but they sort of, the theory is then the Russian this Russian mob gang are trying to control the streets, so it would be against their best interest if this drug was continued to be sold and what have you. And the whole thing with Marty, who gets like the crime gets pinned on him. There's this Russian guy, the leader of the mob, who happens to be in prison, and David thinks then that's why Marty is happy to take the fall, because he's like being threatened with them. And Marty, who the actor's just terrible, by the way, but he sticks to his story and kind of says, yeah, no, I'm going to take the rap. So David's sort of convinced, and he's being like forced to take the cover up. They also find out then the two people who were shot in the video, because they see the video as well, then they were kind of scientists who were actually kind of opposing the drug as well. Or maybe it's the other way around. Maybe it's that they were pushing it. Anyway, they sort of find out then the whole institute were being given money for this drug, even though obviously it's obviously an illegal drug, and that they're still being given money. But yeah, they sort of find out that these were like two academic type scientists, and that their sort of research and stuff may be conflicted with the other side of things, the people trying to suppress like this drug. And they interview Nora at one point, and kind of, sort of tell, they get little bits of information. They're obviously turned on to Nora because of the video with like her lookalike, and they find out then out of the three who have taken the drug like recently or whatever, she's like the only one to kind of survive and go to the hospital or the institute. And that's a question which David brings up, because he brings up, well, why did, when the cops found you, why did they take you to this institute and not just like a regular hospital? And they don't really have like a proper like convincing answer for that. I guess they don't really know, but obviously there's suspicions on that side of things. And it also just builds some of like the kind of this corruption within the police force, because like David's superior, when he tries to convince her to let him like work on the like the murder case, she's kind of like, well, no, it's Tevez's like investigation. And she says, well, people are being like muscled about, so they're kind of using their power and influence. And we just see little stuff like that. So again, this is all kind of like surface level stuff which we've seen in like countless sort of shows and films, but it's it's whatever. It's fine. It's not terrible. It's not. It sort of all connects obviously to the overall plot. So that's kind of good, rather than it just being this random sort of side plot. And yeah, it's a decent enough time. Once again, I'm kind of getting into the characters a bit more, and just the trippy sci-fi elements, and I think I'm enjoying it as kind of a guilty pleasure with a decent enough sort of plot. So there you have it. That's episode 2 of Larva. If you've been watching the show along, then let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Have you been enjoying it? Have you sort of thought it's like just really terrible? Please let me know. Like and subscribe if you are new to the channel. Just on another new thing I'm doing, I just reviewed the first episode of HBO's new version of Perry Mason. I keep doing that. So I did episode 1. The review is now up on the channel if you want to check that out. More new stuff you can look out for. This week I will be doing the next review of Little Fires Everywhere, the Amazon Prime show, so that will be episode 5 of that. And you can also expect another Buffy the Vampire Slayer review this week, plus a lot more. On the film front, I did Child's Play 3 recently, so I'm continuing with that franchise. That review is up on the channel now if you want to check that out. And many more things coming soon, including the X-Files. I'll be reviewing the whole of the X-Files from season 1 all the way to season 11 and including the movie. So that's going to be one hell of a ride. But yeah, plenty of stuff coming up in the channel in the future. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you later.